Hello, hello. Hello. Hi, how are you? It has been a while. I go through these like moments where I kind of have to, because I work with so many people for coaching, I kind of find myself always diving into my work so much that I forget to manifest like my life or manifest things for me or live my life. So that's what I was doing this whole time I wasn't on. How are you guys? Also, I've been very active on Twitter. It's the same as my YouTube, Conjured Realm. You guys ever wonder like what I'm doing or like results that I have with clients? I'm always just posting it on Twitter. Oh, thank you. Okay. Hi. Okay, now that there's more people in here, I kind of want to talk about something that's been a topic lately with people in my coaching, and that's basically fears. People having fears that your desire won't come to happen, or something I get asked a lot is like how do you deal with like the fear of your desires not manifesting or not working or nothing's gonna move. It's so funny because every time I get asked this question, I always tell them the same exact thing, and my reply is always, that's not how this works. The law doesn't get to just decide not to work for you. This is why I'm so like big on telling people to actually know or learn what the law actually is instead of only using methods. When you're someone that only uses methods to manifest, and don't get me wrong, I'm not saying you can't manifest because you can, but it leads to a lot of questions like this. When you're someone who only uses methods to manifest, you kind of like get shaken when your validation isn't coming from the physical world, or when you're not seeing results or signs or movement. None of that would shake you if you just really understood that the law is the law, point blank, period. So when I'm getting asked questions like, how do you not get scared that your manifestation won't happen? My response is always, that's not how this works, because the law quite literally has to give me evidence of my assumption. It doesn't get to just randomly on a Wednesday decide, oh, I'm not going to work for him, or I'm going to choose to not give this person this desire because I feel like it. That's not how this is working. Because it's kind of like the same way if I ask you, well, how can you be so sure that gravity's going to work tomorrow? You're going to look at me like, that's not how this works. Gravity just doesn't get turned off, right? It's the same thing with the law. The law just doesn't decide one day randomly that it's not going to work for you. It literally has to always work. What you assume to be true has to be true. So the very second you make the assumption, it's already done. What ends up happening is a lot of you see something in the physical world that then makes you think or assume that you're not getting what you want. And because you made that assumption, you're just seeing evidence of that assumption that you made about a very neutral situation. But it's not that the law's not working. In fact, it's because you made an assumption that the law isn't working that you're not seeing or getting your desires. It's working perfectly fine. Hello, hello. How would you manifest moving to another country? You assume you now live there. Hello, hello. I do have coaching spots available if you guys need them. I always have coaching. Anytime you guys still don't see me on YouTube, my coaching is still always live. So you can always go to my website, conjuredrealm.com, and you can always book with me. What do I do when I feel feelings of hopelessness and low self-esteem that lead to a feeling of exhaustion towards manifesting my goals? Feeling hopeless, I don't even want to say affirmations. So that kind of goes and ties to what I was saying earlier. When you really understand the law, you could still feel those feelings, regulate yourself, and still understand that your feelings will not cause a delay or it would hinder you in any way with your manifestations, because your assumptions are the only thing that manifest. So this means that you can feel your feelings. It's not about like suppressing your emotions or being happy 24/7. It's about understanding that your assumptions are what's manifesting. So if you have the assumption that you can feel, let's just say you have a bad day, you can assume that even if you have a bad day or even if you feel anxious, you still get your desire, then you still get your desire. Too many of you, what I find is you keep being led by your emotions and the things that you're seeing outside of you. That's not conscious creating. That's called being a lazy reactor. You can't be surprised that your desires are not happening when you guys literally sway your assumptions at the most minuscule, smallest things in your 3D. You're being controlled by your creations when you're the one that's supposed to assume something and then it gets created. The 3D, it doesn't have sentience. Okay, the 3D doesn't get to decide if something gets to manifest or not. That's your job. Can we make ideal law when it comes to manifestations, like law of obsession? The more you obsess with desires, the faster. Yeah, you could do that. That's how free you are with the law. And the law is so objective that if you wanted to obsess over it and get your desire, it will let you do that. But again, you understand that you can make things like this happen because you understand the law. Not the methods, not the tips and tricks people give you on Twitter or on YouTube, or just what is the law. When you understand what the law is, your assumptions create your reality. That's it. When you understand what the law is, you could be obsessed all you want, you can be sad all you want, you can be, I'm not saying be depressed all day, but if that were the case, you could be depressed and still get your desires. However, I'm someone that always likes to talk about like nervous system regulation and feeling your emotions so that those emotions don't stick with you. Because obviously, at least for me, what's most important to me is how I feel. And although I may still be able to get exactly what I want when I'm having a bad day or I feel not the best, that doesn't mean that it feels good to me to experience those things for a long period of time. So I'm going to do the nervous system regulation. I'm going to process my emotions so they can just leave my body the fastest and I can go back to feeling good and enjoying my desires. What's your opinion on soulmates or twin flames? If I understand correctly, since everyone is you pushed out, wouldn't it mean soulmates is impossible? They're possible if you think they're possible. Do I believe in soulmates or twin flames? Not really, because if I literally decide that a random person in the mall is my soulmate, then they will have to be my soulmate. It's kind of like similarly to how people talk about fate. Like, I don't really necessarily believe in that. I believe that you create your own fate. Like, you decide whatever it is that you want to experience through your assumptions, through your consciousness. What's the longest it's taken you to manifest? It depends on the level of focus I have on something. Like, if I'm focused on something consistently, it'll probably be same day, 1 to 3 days max. How can I let go of resistance? By perpetuating the story that you want to experience, regardless of how you feel, and testing the law to prove yourself that the law is actually working. So that on days where you feel like nothing's happening, you can go back and remember the days you did manifest, like the little things you didn't really care about and how those things manifested, and you can compare, like, oh, like I was able to manifest that. There is no way I wouldn't be able to manifest the things that I do want. What are your most unbelievable manifestations from your clients or yours by logical standards, like SP or example? Unbelievable. That's kind of hard because I don't think anything's not believable. But let me see. I had a client, I want to say 3 weeks ago. Her and me, we were working on getting housing for her. Originally, what she wanted was an apartment, but she ended up winning a free house. I don't know how, like in her state, how that works, but I guess her name was drawn from something, from like a, what were those things called? It's like, originally she had gotten an email about how they were gonna give someone a free house, and on a whim, she just put her name and her email address into that email that she got. She didn't think anything of it, anyways. I want to say like 2 months later, we started to work together, and she came to me. She was like, I really want to move into a new apartment. I want like a bigger place for me and my dog. I need somewhere where like I can expand, because she also has a business and she didn't want to live in her small apartment that she was originally in. So we started working together, and I told her literally everything I tell you guys. And I want to say within like about 2-3 weeks of her like actually applying everything I've been teaching her, she got the email from the first thing that she applied to for housing, that she won a free house. So yeah, like nothing is unbelievable, but you have to be persistent with the thoughts that you want to experience. How manifest new name and birthday while everyone is calling you by your current name? Um, you decide what it is that you want to be called, or what your birthday is, regardless of what the 3D shows you, and you persist in that. So this basically means that regardless of what you're seeing or experiencing in the physical world, you still have to be the person that knows you have your desire, regardless if other people aren't aware or privy of it yet. How do we detach and let go of the illusion of being separated from what we want and desire? I want to say that naturally comes with experience. So this is why I'm always telling people to test the law. Test, test, test. Like if all you do is like not even get anything from this live, but this one piece of advice is test the law for yourself. Don't believe me, don't believe any coach, don't believe the things that you see online. Just test it for yourself so you can actually see that this is working. Start manifesting things you don't care about. Start putting your awareness on experiences that you want to have, and you're going to see that they're going to start happening, because where attention goes, energy flows, and you'll start to believe it within yourself. Do things always have to manifest through a bridge of incidents, or can it instantly materialize? Both. I've had instances where both have happened. I made a firm decision what I want, and a few months ago I decided I have it already many times, but still I don't see anything, even if I know I will have it. Okay, let's break that down a little bit, because this has to mean that how long did you say? A few months. So this means within those few months, were you not wavering? Were you actually in the wish fulfilled? Were you actually, regardless of what the physical world was showing you, were you actually still entertaining the idea that you had what you wanted? When someone brought up the opposite, what were your thoughts about that? Okay, you have to take these things under consideration when people say that it's been a few months, it's been a couple years, but nothing has happened. Like, really digest on where were your thoughts during these months. Do you have any assumptions about manifestation? Do you have like an assumption that things have to take a long time, or do you have any, you know what I mean? Like, really digest what it is that you've been permeating on, and you will have your answer. Does living in the end mean claiming it and moving on as normal, and whenever the thought pops up, you accept it? Yes, for me it does. Or is it acting like you have it, like a performer? The latter sounds more effort. It just depends on you personally. Like, there are instances where I've had people do both. I'm more of like the first example you mentioned. I just think about having it whenever it comes to mind, and that's literally enough for me. But there are people who will actually like go out, like, if let's say they want to be married, they will go out and purchase a ring and wear it 24/7, or sleep on the left side of their bed to make room for their SP on the other side, and just like pretend that if it works for you, it works, right? But ultimately, the only thing that you need to have while you're manifesting is the assumption that it's already done. Thank you. Hello, hello, hello. Should I visualize my desires, or robotic affirm is okay? Whichever one you're more comfortable with, just know that the assumption you make is what has to be true, not the techniques. So even if you don't visualize, or even if you don't robotic affirm, that's not the point. The point is, what's the assumption you're carrying about your desire? So do whichever one you feel most comfortable with, and it will have to work as long as you carry the assumption that it's done. How to stop being so anxious about 3D results? I feel like it's ruining my manifestation mindset. Take your awareness out of the 3D and be satisfied. Well, actually, I don't even want to say that. I really just want you to digest the law. This happens when you're too 3D oriented and we don't understand what the law is. The law just plain and simply states what you assume to be true is true. So that means even if you didn't see results and all you did was make an assumption about having your desire, the assumption alone made your desire true. But see, people who are not sitting with what the law actually is are too focused on seeing a result. You would know that the assumption alone is what creates your manifestation. And because as a byproduct, you've made that assumption, you will see a physical materialization of the thing you were focusing on. You don't need to see evidence for it to be real, because nowhere in the law does it state you need evidence or proof or validation, because it's just the assumption alone that makes it true. I hope, like, I sound like a broken record, but I need you guys to really understand what the law is, because a lot of people come at the law from a very like technique based mind frame, and when you do that, you're gonna get questions like this all the time. How come when I focus on something intently for a day or a few days, it still didn't manifest, but for you it did? What am I doing wrong? Well, the difference is with me, I don't have resistance with the law because I have experience. I don't know if, like, once you let go of your desire, you're entertaining ideas of you not having it, or I don't know if you're permeating more on the fact that because you don't see it, it's not here. Like, I don't know what's happening in your brain for me to answer that, but I know for me personally, the reason why I can do that is because I have experience and I've sat with the law to really understand that the law has to give me exactly what I want because it has no choice. It doesn't have an option. It doesn't care what I want. So this is what I was saying earlier about how the law is objective. The law doesn't care what you want. You have a meaning or an assumption about $1 million. You have an assumption or a meaning about getting something that's too big. Like, you have an assumption about those things. The law doesn't care. The law literally sees you having $10 million as like you having a pebble. But because you have a resistance towards whatever it is that you're manifesting, it's sifting through your desires, through those filters that you're caring about, the meanings that you have about these things. Your channel is the reason I embodied creating my reality, and now I know. Thank you. I love that for you. Why robotic affirmations work? I mean, it's just a technique. Every technique works if you assume it does. That's literally it. What, in your opinion, is an effective way to get into knowing that my desire is already a fact? Um, so first off, you don't need to actually know you have your desire to manifest it. You just have to be consistent with the assumption that you have it. There, like at the beginning, I remember when I was first learning to manifest, I didn't believe I was gonna manifest anything actually. I didn't actually think anything was gonna happen. But because I entertained more me having my desire than me not having it, it manifested. So you don't technically have to feel anything, and you don't have to really know something's gonna manifest. You just have to assume it, because the assumption alone is what makes it true. Let me see. Wait, I lost my spot. Just by doing assumption of manifesting money, how fast can this happen? That depends. Depends on you. Depends how much resistance you have on the idea of manifesting happening or money manifesting for you. Is it possible to revise the past to be born as the other gender, like completely biologically? If so, how do you do it? Yeah. I'm not someone that's ever gonna tell you you can't do something. Just decide you are your new gender. That's it. Remember, it's just the assumption that makes it true. Okay, so we should be focused on already done mood most of the day so it manifests faster, right? So it's not even about the fact that it's not about like you deciding that it's already done gonna make it manifest faster. It's just the assumption alone causes it to manifest. How can I explain this? Because the whole thing with this is you guys see manifestation as like there's a time aspect into it. There is no time. It's kind of like how, say you're in space, right? Say you're in space. And you know how we have gravity on Earth? Okay. So say you're on a ship in space and then you start to get close to Earth. The second you get to Earth, you're going to be experiencing gravity instantaneously because gravity never gets turned off. Does that make sense? Similarly to manifestation. The second you assume you have your desire, it's already done right then and there. Because the law never gets turned off, it's operating 24/7. How to manifest an appearance change if I can't visualize how my face would be with the change. I've had a client do this by comparing her desired face to someone that she wanted to look like, and that worked for her. Or if all you did was affirm that you look like XYZ, or you want these features, or you want your face to look like this, just affirming it, that'll be enough. Because remember, just the assumption is what is needed. You're welcome. Yeah, I just want people to really understand the law, because once you understand the law, it's literally like learning, no, it's literally like having the lottery, like winning the lottery. I want to remove like all the fluff people have learned unnecessarily, because the law is so simple. I feel like at times the law being so simple works against a lot of people, and it doesn't really have to be that difficult or hard. You just need to really hone in on what is the law, what is law of assumption. I have been affirming and visualizing but not feel wish fulfillment. I want to feel wish fulfillment, what to do about it, and I just want to forget 3D. That's okay, you don't have to feel anything. You don't have to feel anything. Your assumption made it true. And if you don't want to pay attention to the 3D, then don't pay attention to it. Now, let's say it's a case where like you have no choice but to pay attention to the 3D, because either, let's say you're trying to get rid of a coworker and you work with them or whatever and you see them every day. In those scenarios, you go about your business, but you understand that you already made the assumption that they're gone. So there's no need to, unless you really have to interact with them, there's no need to interact with them. That's it. How can I revise? Revise is basically when you decide that a situation turned out how you assume it to be rather than what actually happened. So for revision, I normally like to script for it. I don't know why it works for me that way, but I like to revise by scripting. And I'll just write down how the situation played out instead of what happened, and then that's it. Is 30-minute coaching sufficient to get results? Um, I mean, it depends how much you apply from what I'm telling you in that coaching. There are people who get coaching and like all the information goes in one ear out the other and you don't manifest anything. But if you apply the things that I'm telling you, yeah, you basically don't even need coaching, to be honest. If I'm being really honest with everyone, you don't need coaching. But the appeal of coaching is you have my help on in real time about your specific situations, and I tell you how to go about them. But it's all up to you. How to deal with switching between wanting and not wanting something in a 3D after fulfilling in imagination. My SP is Muslim. How do I see beyond logic? There is his Muslim family and friends. How do you deal with switching between wanting and not wanting? So, whichever one you choose, it really doesn't matter, to be honest. Because let's say you assume that you're obsessing over your SP, or let's say you're not obsessing over your SP, you can just decide it doesn't matter and you still get what you want. Do you see how like literally all the power is in your hands? Do you see how you literally don't even have to pay attention to the 3D to make an assumption true? Or to make manifestation work in general, because the law literally only requires your assumption. Whether you see evidence of it or not has nothing to do with you having your desire. The only thing that's required of you to have your desire is the assumption that you have it, and that's it. Instantaneously, in that moment, it becomes true. I'm doing a 10K affirmation challenge. I just want to feel good about my manifestation just for myself. I just want my subconscious to feel happiness. Give me one affirmation. I'm confused. I just want to feel good about my manifestation just for myself. You could affirm, let's see, what's a really good one? Everything always works out for me. That's an amazing umbrella affirmation. It encompasses a wide spectrum of things. And yeah, I feel like when you know that everything works out for you, no matter what you see in the physical world or no matter how you feel, you know that at the end of the day, you're going to get exactly what you want because it has to work out for you. Hello, hello. But if I assume I'm the opposite gender, how does that work exactly? Like, how will that manifest? I don't want any surgeries. I want to be born as. Listen, I couldn't even begin to tell you. I have people who have talked to me about like revising death, and I don't know how it's gonna happen. I'm not infinite intelligence. Whatever infinite intelligence will do to you to make you the opposite gender, it will do. But how it's gonna happen, I couldn't tell you. Can you do it? Sure, why not? It's your reality. I saw someone say that if you affirm in past tense, it won't manifest because why would it if you're saying it's a past experience? It's probably just a limiting belief, but it triggered me. Could you clarify? It doesn't matter. It doesn't matter. If you think you affirming in past tense will get you your manifestation, then guess what? You now have to get your manifestation. You stop getting triggered by understanding what the law is. I feel like all of you should get out a piece of paper right now. Get out a piece of paper right now, entitle it cheat sheet. Under that, write out what I assume to be true has to be true. When you have a question about will negative emotions manifest, look at the cheat sheet. Does anywhere in that cheat sheet do you see anything about emotions? No, right? So take that out of your brain. If you get the thought about past tense, present tense, future tense, look at the cheat sheet. Does the cheat sheet say anything about tenses? No, right? Take that out of your brain then. Refer to the cheat sheet anytime you have a question because your assumption is the only thing that you need. That's it. Nothing outside of you matters. I know it's done. What's my state? What's my state thoughts should be in the day about it as having person thoughts they should think. TA, could you reword that for me, please? How to make my desire unconditional. It feels like so many things to be or do or to accept before something will appear or change for me. So I want to say that the law doesn't care about any of that. It's conditional because you think it's conditional, but the law literally just states, just give me what you assume about the situation and it's yours. So if you think that any circumstances can't get in the way, then it won't. And also, I want you guys to realize when you make an assumption, right? When you make an assumption about having a desire, that that assumption becomes its own isolated moment. It has nothing to do with the past. It has nothing to do with what has been. It has nothing to do with what's happening now. It becomes its own isolated moment that has to manifest. So if you're someone who has like, I don't know, you have like an assumption that you've never had $2,000 before, therefore you think you can't manifest $2,000, I need to tell you right now that because your assumption is what creates your reality, the second you say you have $2,000, it has to be created. Like it cannot be it can't be any other way. It needs to be created. The second you made that assumption, it's already true, regardless of what your past has been. I've been feeling indifferent about my SP, like I want it, but I don't care. Do you usually feel that way when you're in the wish fulfilled? Yeah, a lot of the times actually. You know, these days it's really hard to surprise me anytime I manifest anything because it's so expected that it's kind of like someone telling you you're gonna have a surprise birthday party, but you already know. So when you arrive there, it's kind of like, I mean, you're happy and you're excited that people showed up for you, but it's like the surprise aspect of it is not there anymore. Can you talk more about jobs slash current markets? What do you want to know? I mean, if you want me to talk about how the current market or what other people are telling you about the market don't matter, then yeah, that's my stance on it. It doesn't matter. I literally had a client the other day. We were having this conversation about how people are so like adamant about talking about how the market is so bad when it comes to jobs and people can't find work anymore. But she got fired from her past job a month ago, and within 5 days, she had a new job because she just assumed that getting jobs is really easy. The market, these circumstances, they don't matter. It doesn't matter. Whatever has to move will move. Thanks to your channel, I manifest money to buy my books, assuming I always have amount of money. Oh, I love that. You're welcome. Yes, everyone make the cheat sheet, please. Make it right now. Go on your phone or write it in a piece of paper. What I assume to be true has to be true. If you have any questions or any doubts that come up after this live, look at the cheat sheet. If that question is not in the cheat sheet, it has nothing to do with you being able to manifest your desire. There is something empowering about seeing these discussions live. Wishing everyone all the best. Oh, thank you. Have you ever had a manifestation manifest despite still having negative thoughts about it when it manifested? Oh, all the time. Especially at the beginning of my journey. Because I would talk about early on in my videos, in my channel, how I used to be a very anxious person. Like, I used to have really bad anxiety. And when I started to really comprehend the law, I understood, even though I feel this way, I can still get what I want. I was still finding myself having days where I would be anxious and still getting what I want because guess what? Look at the cheat sheet. Does it say anything about having anxiety? Does it say anything that because you have anxiety you can't get what you want? No, right? So I was still getting everything I wanted regardless of how I felt because I very quickly understood that the law just needs my assumption. Just my assumption. I can feel how I want to feel. I can be how I want to be. People can say what they want to say, but as long as I kept my assumption on already having my desire, it needed to manifest. You are the best. NYC here, be in Miami on Friday. Super excited. Thank you. Oh, thank you. I think the simplest way is every time it comes to mind during the day, remind yourself it's done and go, yes, literally. Y'all, I am such a lazy manifester. I want to do absolutely nothing, nothing, and get my desires. Like, I don't like putting in that much effort. I'm sorry. I don't know how that's gonna come across, but I understand the law so much to the point where I can be this laid back about my desires and I still get everything I want. Because you understand that working hard is a man-made concept. The law doesn't need me to do that. People want me to do that. The law doesn't need me to put in more effort. People want me to put in more effort. Can you explain how we are the observer? So we are consciousness. Consciousness is is everything. Consciousness is, how can I explain consciousness? It's like you're never not conscious. Things can only exist because of your awareness. So think of yourself as consciousness and everything around you as a form of consciousness, so a form of you. Without you, there would be nothing. There would be absolutely nothing here because it requires your lens to be present. It's almost as if, imagine you were in a dark room and you have a flashlight. Everything can only be seen once you shine your flashlight on like a random lamp in that basement, in that dark room, right? But you're that dark room. You're everything already in there. You're the light. That's who you are as consciousness. It dives more into non-dualism. I talk about that more in previous videos. But yeah, we are just observing ourselves in this body that we've localized our consciousness on. So if I had like a way to draw it, it'd be much easier, but I can't draw on here. But consciousness is essentially the thing that allows things to be, which means we're observing this body. And because we're observing this body, we are not this body, we are just the things just viewing it, experiencing life through this vessel that we've localized ourselves into. And because we are everything, you can't possibly ever not have your desire because you are everything. Everything is you. The only reason why things even exist is because you are here. So the mere fact that you exist means you already have your desire, means you don't even have to suffer anymore. But that's a topic about non-dualism. A lot of people don't resonate with non-dualism, so if you guys wonder why I stopped talking about it in like my other videos, or like I don't make many non-dualism videos about it, it's because a lot of people kind of like, people were already having an issue with law of assumption, and adding non-dualism to the mix kind of confused people a lot more, so that's why I kind of went back to law of assumption. How would you suggest getting rid of cognitive dissonance when telling ourselves we have it? Sometimes I feel like I'm lying to myself, or that I'm doing things to get it instead of just having it. Well, what does your cheat sheet say? What you assume to be true is true. So if you made an assumption, that means it's yours. The assumption, not you seeing proof, not you seeing evidence, not you feeling like you're doing this because you need to get something. It's the assumption alone that made it true. That's how you get rid of the cognitive dissonance, is understanding that the law only requires your assumption for what you want to be made true. Do you have any experience with manifesting someone staying in your city and not moving away? No, but I have experience making someone move away. And it's literally exactly how I've been explaining it to you guys this whole live. I just assumed that they wanted to live somewhere else, that they no longer wanted to be here in this town. And then one random day, I got word that they're moving to Australia for work, which is so random because I didn't even know that person had any interest in Australia. I'm just manifesting everything with my dreams. Like I dream something tomorrow, it will happen. Past days I have nightmares. So my question is, how can I don't manifest with nightmares? So if you assume that your nightmares won't manifest, then they won't. Because why? Your assumption creates. If you assume that it won't, then it won't. Personally, stepping away from manifesting and techniques and rules and coming back has made understanding manifestation in the simplest way click better. I don't check out of manifestation Twitter anymore. Yeah, honestly, when you have so many opinions swaying you on what to do with manifestation, I feel like that's when people get the most confused. The law is so simple that people have to realize that when you get online and people have a platform, they're just telling you how to manifest through their perspective. And because there are so many like perspectives out there, you're gonna hear different ways of manifesting. Which, if anything, if you think about it, you can literally, this tells you that you can just aim a shot in the dark, and if you just like do what you're supposed to even a little bit, you'll manifest. Thank you so much for the answer. I'm getting so good at manifesting with your teachings. Y'all, you're welcome. Can you talk about circumstances a bit more? What do you want to know about them? Because they don't matter. Once you assume you have it, that circumstance literally is null and void. So if you want to keep harping on it, it's going to stay because your awareness is keeping it there. But the circumstance alone is not enough to keep your desire from you. Have you manifested ill intent towards someone? Oh, yeah. I'm literally in a dark room with shining a flashlight. Love that. How to manifest my dream job as an officer. I have multiple tests, so to pass. So right now, decide you're an officer. That's it. Why? Because the law just simply needs your assumption for it to work for you. So once you make the assumption, literally the law will do the heavy lifting for you. That's it. Whatever needs to move out the way will move out the way for you to become an officer. But you have to assume that you are that officer. And once you make that assumption that you are an officer, your job is going to be that no matter what happens, no matter what you see, no matter what people tell you, no matter what's going on in the physical world, your job is going to be to maintain the assumption that you are an officer. This is what happens. When you make an assumption and you let a neutral thing in the 3D sway you out of that assumption, like someone telling you that the being an officer or like the exams to be an officer are hard, and you make an assumption about what you just heard, because you made an assumption and the law is constantly on 24/7, now you're creating based off that assumption you just made. So you see how you can easily be swayed out of your assumption if you're not careful. People accidentally manifest things that they don't want because they harp too much on what's happening on the outside. All right, guys, I'm gonna answer a couple more and then I'm gonna go. I loved having this chat with you guys. Remember, I still have coaching. If you guys are interested, contact me, conjuredrealm.com. If you want to follow me on Twitter, conjuredrealm88. I'm so active on there a lot, and I talk about my results and like client testimonies and stuff. So, yeah, it's always a fun time. Is it okay to just let it go? Will it still manifest? It depends. Let go of the old story, not the desire. Because too many times I hear on here that people are teaching you to let go of the desire when why would you want to let go of something you want, right? People are teaching this incorrectly. When you hear the term let it go, they're talking about letting go of the old story. But anytime the desire comes to mind, you're supposed to be assuming you already have it. You're supposed to be assuming like it's already yours. Whether that be 1 time a day, 5 times a day, 6 times, however many times a day, it doesn't matter. But every time it comes to mind, it needs to be a favorable story. Can you talk about that ill intent manifestation? Do you believe that we put out that vibration, bringing it back to us? No, at all. I don't think that. I don't think about like karma. I don't think about like what you put out is what you receive, because the law is objective. The law doesn't care about any of those things. People care about those things. The law just simply states what you assume to be true is true. So if I taught you how to manifest and tomorrow you literally want to, I don't know, like get someone deported, to the law, it's indifferent because that situation is neutral to the law. Now, morally, to people, that may be a bad thing, but to the law, it will still grant it for you because it's objective. It doesn't care about good or bad. It doesn't care about what what society deems as morally correct, because there is no moral system with the law. It's just your assumption and then I create it. Literally, that's it. Any new insights or cheat sheets on improving self-concept? Honestly, what made me like really good with self-concept is understanding that if I make an assumption, it has to be true. So why not just assume that I'm literally adored, admired, magnetic, right? Even if I didn't feel those things within myself, I know because those are assumptions, it needs to be created. Does that make sense? So this is like another like cheat sheet or like a hack I used to do at the very beginning of my manifestation journey. In many instances, when I couldn't believe in myself, I believed in the law. Does that make sense? Like, I know and I understood the law enough to know that if I made an assumption, it needs to be true. So if even if I don't believe it, the law still has to make it true because that's its job. So if I say I'm adored, even if I don't believe that, the law needs to make it true regardless if I believe it or not, because that's what it's literally here for. And eventually that's exactly what started to manifest, and I got proven that over time. But yeah, guys, this was fun. um I really enjoyed having this chat with you guys. Again, if you guys need coaching with me, go to my website, conjuredrealm.com. You can book with me. I do coaching. I have email coaching, I have phone coaching. Well, it's done Meets, so I'll send you like a Google Meets a link, and then we talk through there, and it's always a fun time. It's literally like just talking to friends. Anyone who's ever had coaching with me, they tell you like I literally talk to you like you're my friend, because like this law, I feel like people, I know your situations can seem hard or they can seem difficult, but honestly, when you approach it from a very playful manner, you understand that it was never that hard to begin with. And when you take your emotions out of this, it's a very neutral situation and it lets you think critically. Because I feel like when you're so heightened with emotion, it almost makes us forget how objective the law is. But yes, I hope you guys have an amazing rest of your day. Come check me out on Twitter, conjuredrealm88, and yeah, I post stuff there all the time. But anyways, love you guys. I'll probably do another live sometime this week. But yeah, happy manifesting.